Dungeons & Dragons is a massive tabletop role-playing game, also known as a TTRPG. There are many different reasons why to play the game and how to play the game, but I think we should look at how it was created first. According to the Smithsonian Magazine, Dungeons & Dragons was made by cobbler Gary Gygax in 1974. One day, him and his family were down on their luck, and he decided to play a army-based strategy game with some of his friends. And he added a few new rules implementing magic within a popular fantasy game. After a while, he made his own version of the game known as Chainmail. Once he published this game, most of the people that played army-based strategy games, also known as wargamers, didn't really like it. Wargamers prefer to have these games set in reality and historical events. So magic didn't really play into the narrative that they frequently made. After a while, Gary Gygax started to fall in love with some of the stories that he made for Chainmail, and he made a game focused on individual characters called Dungeons & Dragons. Today, I will be showing you how to play the most current edition, D&D 5th edition. So, you have to have at least 2 people to play the game, but most people can play around 6 to 7. One person has to play the Dungeon Master, which their role is basically to create a story, play as characters within the story that interact with the other players, attack the other players as monsters, and to basically be a guide to this new world. And then the others have to make characters that they would play throughout the story that the Dungeon Master has created. So the other players would have to make these character sheets that will represent their characters' individual stats, the character's race, and their class. Now, a class can be anything from a barbarian, a wizard, or a fighter. And a race can be something like an elf, orc, dwarf, or human. Now, some things needed to be a little bit more specific, such as a barbarian would need more strength and a wizard would need more intelligence. And where they would get these is their individual stats. Now, there are 6 different stats. There's strength, constitution, dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Now, these stats would be random. You would have to roll 4d6s, and you would take out the lowest one, and you would add the higher 3. You would repeat this 5 more times, and you would put these into individual stats depending on the type of character you would want to play. Once a dungeon master has created the world and the story, and the characters have been made from the other players, they can play in a game, which most commonly is known as a campaign. Now, a campaign can run from anywhere between 1 or 2 months, or even a few years. But sometimes we play in smaller games, which could be just one night. These are most commonly known as one-shots. But one thing about all different types of ways to play Dungeons & Dragons is that you need one specific thing. A 20-sided dice. Each side represents the amount of probability that you can do. So let's say the Dungeon Master says that there is a cavern in front of you. You want to jump the cavern. So the dungeon master decides what the probability of that is. So let's say he says you have to land on a 15 or higher to jump the cavern. After the player rolls and they add the necessary stats and they get over the 15, they can jump over the cavern. But sometimes when you don't go above the 15, sometimes you can just not jump over the cavern at all, or you fall into the cavern. But not everything in life is so blatant and dry. And that's where the 20-sided die comes in. It represents tremendous successes and tremendous failures. So if the die lands on a 20, you could say that they jumped over the cavern with ease, maybe even flipping as they jump. But if the 20-sided die lands on a 1, you can say that they tripped and fell into the cavern before they even started to jump. Although this game is very random and you can add your stats to this game, ultimately it's just for fun. And don't you need a little bit of randomness to have fun? Thank you.